mayors and officials of county government have come together to thank Senator Doherty for introducing S-2310. This bill will reform binding arbitration and implement a reasonable limit on future local government employee compensation costs. Binding interest arbitration is a state-mandated process settling collective bargaining disputes between local governments and police and fire employee unions. Since 2000, the current binding arbitration process has resulted in reported salary schedule increases averaging about 4% per year. Only in the first 6 months of 2010 have those average salary increases been reduced. But as you'll soon hear, even since passage of the new 2% cap, local property taxpayers can still be forced to pay for budget-busting arbitration awards. And those figures don't represent the full cost, which includes such items as steps, longevity, uniform allowances, and benefits. As a result, a 4% increase to a salary schedule can cost an employer 7%, in some cases as much as 10%. Awards like this to police and fire personnel can put pressure on the governing body of those communities to give similar increases to the public employees in other unions. On the other hand, it can also result in layoffs or furloughs of other government workers to pay for police and fire contract awards, and it's happened in many communities throughout the state already.
And if the legislature fails to act on these critical initiatives, the 2% property tax cap will force county governments throughout the state to eliminate essential services and personnel and drastically reduce improvements to our roads, bridges, and other facilities. As you may know, the county governments are responsible for like 7,000 bridges in this state.
In the hard cap budget year of 2011, which we all know is a 2% budget cap, the arbitrator awarded the police 2.75. So in the process of formulating a budget, if you have salaries on one side, and if you're going to award 2.75 to a third of our workforce, it means the other 2/3 have to suffer in some manner. And that would either be through little or no pay raise or layoffs. And we just don't see the wisdom of having a third of our workforce, who I've taken to calling the privileged class, be awarded such a raise over what the budget cap is. We view all of our employees, whether it's DPW or administrative staff or the police, we think they all do a fine job for the borough of Rumson, and we don't understand why the 2/3 of our workers have to suffer at the expense of a third of our workforce.
If you factor in, as the law says he must, the total package, which includes longevity and steps, the increase is actually 40.3% over that 5-year period. And if you factor in the 2% cap, we're facing a budget year this year where we have to pay for all other salary increases, including the 2% of the health care and pension increases for our other 43 employees in the borough of Belmar, out of $52,000 that's left out of our municipal 2% tax levy cap. So we have $52,000 left after the police get the lion's share of whatever we can raise by taxation legally in the coming year. And out of that $52,000, we have to cover the salaries of everybody else, 2% of salary increases of everybody else, 2% pension increase, 2% of the health care increase for the other employees, whatever increases in fuel and gas and electricity and all the other costs that we all face. And God forbid that we should want to increase the investment that we've made in our parks or our streets or our playgrounds or any of the other things that the community needs to continue to better itself and deliver a basic level of service.
In the city of Morris Township, for example, our salaries and benefits and salary-related items account for approximately 90% of our budget. And it is just incomprehensible to think that when we have a 2% cap, that we can go to binding arbitration and get hit with 3% or 4%. The two laws have to be incompatible with each other. If we have a 2% cap, we have to have arbitrators that take that into consideration. When that is not so, if this toolkit and these toolkit-related items do not pass, then it forces us in a position where we will no longer be able to deliver effective services to the residents of Orange. And it's not just a City of Orange issue, this is a statewide issue. There's only so much money to go around.
The fact is that binding arbitration is a process that works. In reality, it has reduced awards over the last decade. It encouraged voluntary state settlements, and it requires both sides to defend their argument to an independent decision maker. The misconceptions continue to rule the day. The public is left with the impression that every contract is decided by an arbitrator. In fact, a few legislators that I've spoken to throughout thought that this was the case. In fact, the vast majority of contracts are settled and never reached an arbitrator. With the onslaught of police layoffs and the 2% cap, I expect our locals to be faced with many hard decisions in their contracts. Arbitrators, contrary to some mayors have suggested, do take the facts before them in consideration, and the last 3 awards certainly prove that to be true. It has become easy to scapegoat arbitration as the boogeyman of property tax increases. I suspect some mayors do so for some reasons. First, they punt to the arbitrator because they don't want to be the one to make the decision on a contract, and have an anonymous arbitrator become the bad guy, and it's not fair, and not the mayor and their constituents for political reasons. And on the second, it's more likely in the case of government does not come prepared to the table in the process to the process as the PBA does.
We are very anxious to sit down in some form to discuss and review of the facts. You heard from several mayors earlier, and with all due respect to their individual cases that may have not gone to their side, so to speak, the PBA and the FMBA could really fill the room with arbitration awards or contracts that we were unhappy with. I would just like to point out, in some instances, in some of our locales where we're talking about 2.5% and 3.5%, everything is relative. A police officer in the borough of Rumson, for example, is making somewhere close to 1/4 or 1/5 to the average median income, where they can't afford to live in a community such as that, but serve and protect that community where real estate values are in the millions. So I think we need to look at the facts. This economy has driven interest arbitration and negotiated settlements the way it should. I know it's become a common theme to demean and to vilify and to blame those who protect and serve, but without interest arbitration, and I think the chairman Whalen started off with his comments right on. This is an elimination of the collective bargaining system. This 2% hard cap, inclusive of medical benefits, would guarantee that there would be, in fact, negative increases for police and firefighters. I don't believe that the men and women who serve the public and put their lives on the line should have to bear undue burden of the economy.